I'm Austin Walker, and this is Waypoint Presents. Vice's home for the most exciting stories in gaming. We take you behind the scenes.
You gotta be a little crazy, you know, if you want to be the best.
Into the arena. To the heart of why we play. Before Hearthstone, before Netrunner, before Gwent, Magic the Gathering was the competitive card game. And nearly 25 years after it hit the scene, Magic is still one of the world's most popular games, racking up millions of players every year. Today, Waypoint brings together the old and the new. A young challenger on a quest to become a new champion, and a pair of brothers who've been playing Magic together from the very beginning.
Magic the Gathering is a collectible card game. It's strategic in nature. It's got a little bit of hidden information where you're hiding your cards from your opponent. You're playing your cards onto the battlefield, attacking and blocking with them, and trying to reduce your opponent to 0 life.
People collect the cards like baseball cards, and then they play a strategy game with them that's kind of like a combination of poker and chess. Poker in that you play with the cards you draw, but chess in that each card's like a different piece.
From the cards you collect, you get to customize your own deck and your own experience and make it your own.
One of the things that makes Magic accessible to new players is that luck is absolutely going to be a factor. Unlike a game like chess, where you will always lose if you're worse, in Magic you sometimes win. And it's kind of like a little bit of a gateway, you know, it helps you feel good while you're learning.
When I was growing up, most people who were, playing games weren't really seen as the cool kids. But now, there's professional gamers on, TV. This is just so much more a part of the culture than it was 10, 15 years ago.
The game is just so polished and so well done. It might just be the best game ever made.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You are welcome to our live exclusive coverage of the final of Pro Tour Born of the Gods. Will it be the ice-cool Sean McLaren or 18-year-old Jacob Wilson?
If he wins this match, Jacob will be the first champion younger than the game of Magic.
Jacob hasn't attacked even once. Jacob really needs to not play this harmonic sliver here.
Sean McLaren, is it Staticaster? Kill your birds of paradise, and that is the end. Sean McLaren is your champion. He is king of the hill. Jacob, congratulations. I can tell, of course, you're disappointed. Who wouldn't be?
Right now, I feel a little physically ill, but I think tomorrow I can look back and be proud about this and hope to win the next one.
Yep, we'll come back, win the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, your finalist, a great ambassador for the game, Jacob Wilson. Good job.
Pro Tour is pretty much the highest competitive stage for Magic. There's 4 major events a year, the Pro Tours, that each have a $250,000 prize pool with $40,000 to the winner. And you can only attend the Pro Tours if you're invited.
You have to win a qualifier tournament just to get invited to a tournament that invites you to the Pro Tour.
Probably a couple thousand people show up over the course of the weekend. There's a live broadcast, so the Pro Tours are definitely the marquee events of Magic.
This is an important tournament for Jacob in a big way. He had a bitter loss in his first Pro Tour. I remember looking at him after that happened. For somebody who doesn't show that much emotion on a regular basis, he was destroyed by that.
Second place is the most painful position to finish. Sometimes people joke about second place being tied for dead last.
Right when I lost, I was kind of in disbelief. I had won 2 out of the first 3 games, and I felt advantaged, and I really just thought that it was a guarantee. Immediately after, I was pretty devastated and definitely bitter. I'm Jacob Wilson, and I'm a professional Magic player. I was introduced to Magic when I was really young, and when I was 15, I just started playing in local tournaments like once a week, and when I got second place at the Pro Tour, I ended up going from like $100 in my bank account to $30,000, and like I was paying for school all by myself. At the beginning of this fall semester, I was qualified for the World Championships. It was a lot of work to do school and Magic at the same time. So I wanted to take the semester off and just prepare the whole time. Right now, one of my biggest goals is to win a Pro Tour, and if I were to accomplish that, it would be a huge achievement and definitely one of the biggest ones of my life. Tonight could definitely be a late night. I often am a little bit too excited to sleep right before a big tournament like this.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to get a good night's sleep.
The pro scene is divided from a lot of people's experience playing Magic. It can be so many different things to so many different people. For the average person who's playing, it's much more likely a way that they sort of blow off steam after work, or just get together with friends, or a way that they bond with their family members.
Ma, worry about the food more.
Yeah, the food almost done.
So, Ma, what are we cooking today?
This is a puttanesca sauce. We're going to have a little penne, and then we'll have some stuffed chicken breast for prosciutto.
Nice. When people get invited to the Farino house, they know they're going to get two things: high-level vintage Magic and great pasta. Over there is our collection, cards that we use to play Magic.
Yeah, those cards there comprise a lot of hours of work, a lot of hours of fun, a lot of hours of family and friend recreation, so that's really what it is.
Certain cards, I even remember where you were when you opened them, like the Classe Sardia. We always had a fantasy background, starting from my oldest brother, which read a lot of Tolkien's work. We all read the Chronicles of Narnia, and then eventually I stumbled upon Magic. It was actually in the back of chemistry class.
Well, I'm a jock Italian nerd. It's part of what makes me me. There's a lot of the old stuff right here.
Another reason, that definitely loved the game and why we play vintage is the older artwork. Like Sarah Angel, this is a card I have around simply because I've always loved the artwork.
This is the backbone of my deck. It's called Mishra's Workshop.
To me, I very much gravitated towards the art. I always appreciated the fantasy art aspect. There were some early pieces of art which had some symbolism, which I think provoked people to bring out the bad aspects of fantasy. There were two cards in particular, Demonic Tutor and Unholy Strength, which had pentagrams on them.
There was such a negative connotation to ritualistic activities or anything to do with sacrifices and burnt offerings, and all of these terms just started to surface.
Magic, the Gathering. So let's see where they're coming from. How many see a pentagram? If you look, there it is.
Perception of parents, well, I don't want my kids playing this because I don't like the imagery.
Here's one of the cards. It's a dead, rotting, decaying thing that's been in the ground. And remember, it said that it's an occult game. One of the dangers of this thing is that it's played with the mind. How many know that the mind is a very fragile thing?
Teenage kids, their parents still had influence on what they could play. Now it's different.
They quickly retracted those printings, and that really quelled a lot of the fires of the whole satanic imagery.
That negative paradigm that followed Magic in its beginning years are now over. And I think you're starting to see now the growth of it is changing. The Pro Tour player in particular, it's a grind. Those guys will sleep on someone's couch one Wednesday, wake up next Wednesday, they're elsewhere. I mean, it's a grind for those guys. I just wonder how much fun all of them are having. I'm sure there are people that find it rewarding, just not for me and not for our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
First round, which is great. It's always good to get off to a good start. My opponent forgot something that would have benefited him. Like, if you forget what your card does, it's not my responsibility to remind him. I'm normally pretty quiet with my opponent. During the game, I don't really like to chit-chat.
He can be sometimes quiet.
He's a relatively quiet guy. I haven't really gotten to know him super well.
Jacob Wilson attacking for lethal, using Path to Exile.
Just saw a handshake.
He's always very even, very calm, and always finds the right play.
Oh, he finally slogged through.
How do you beat that? So Jacob Wilson moves on.
It's the end of the day, and I finished 7-1, which is pretty great. It's the best record I've ever had at a Pro Tour. I can't really ask for much more.
Dude, you went 7-1 today. That's insane.
I know, it's great.
Great work.
Thanks.
We're holding white bits of paper, and that means it's time for the end of day wrap. Jacob Wilson is ahead of the curve.
You've already called it there. You're saying Jacob Wilson for the win.
A terrific job by him and all these players here, on behalf of everyone at Wizards of the Coast, saying bye.
Vintage is a great game, not only because of the old nostalgic cards, the powerful cards, the dramatic plays. The true reason why it's great is the community. The people that make up the game are amazing. Everyone's friendly, everyone's accepting. You know, you walk into a room and you'll have 40 friends.
Hey, gents. Fellas, what's going on? Hey, how you doing? Hey, Arnold, how you doing? I am absolutely not in charge of this ball. What's happening? Glad you can make it. Okay, what's the word here, gentlemen?
This is Vintage. Right now we're doing an 8-man tournament, just getting together with friends and playing cards.
My core strategy is generally to stop what he wants to do slowly. Picture a boa constrictor slowly wrapping around somebody, and once he is in a perfect position, now he can squeeze the air out of him. But I have to, the boa has to get in position first. That's the best way I could explain what the deck wants to do. It's planning it out. It's how do you get there. It's stopping your opponent from doing what he wants to while slowly reeling him in. What I would really say about Vintage is, it really is how the game was intended to be played.
And Vintage is the purest form of the game. It plays with all the cards from originally printed up until the ones which are being hot off the presses.
Wizards of the Coast is the creator of this game. They kind of, I guess, believed there were errors in the original cards that were made, and they kind of wanted to put them away in a small place where they could be forgotten about.
They definitely left us out in the cold a little bit, and that's why in the Vintage community we had to self-regulate, and why people look at us as the Wild Wild West, because we've had, you know, a little bit of the cold shoulder from the parent company.
Today looks like he has this one.
I'd say the Farinos are the godfathers, and a lot of people do regard them as the creators of these certain decks. Anytime you bring up these old decks, they're like, oh yeah, the Farinos built this, built that.
If you're activating it, you're not having it.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about the Pro Tours, of how all these kids are kind of young. Do you ever think that you would have tried to do that?
I tell you what, there's a part of me, as being a natural competitor, I probably wouldn't have minded a small opportunity to have done it. It would have to have been at the appropriate age. Right now, we're trying to win a world championship in this format. That's the actual goal. But to answer the question, I would have given it a chance. Let me see how this is. Excuse me.
Welcome to day 2 of Pro Tour Fate Reforged, coming to you live.
Now, when you get to the late stages of a tournament like this, there's a lot on the line.
Jacob Wilson has been utterly dominant this weekend, but he just suffered a brutal loss at the hands of Eric Froelich. And if he doesn't make the top 8, that last play is going to come back to haunt him.
I was so greedy and so dumb.
Here we are. It's the last round of the day. It all comes down to this. If Jacob Wilson wins, he advances to the final day. If he loses, he is done.
First player, Seth Manfield. Standing in his way, Jacob Wilson. All right, here's Lava Spike to take Jacob Wilson down to 10. Down to 2 is Jacob.
Jacob's turning the tables and going on the offensive here. He's got his guns blazing against Seth, and Seth has fallen to 6.
This is just about as close as they get. do it. Jacob Wilson has won.
He had a single copy of that card in his deck, and it showed up at just the right time. What are the odds?
How do you feel as Seth Manfield right now?
I want to throw up.
I'm very blessed. I almost lost. I drew kitchen finks. I almost lost even with the ley line. I didn't have the finks. I would have lost.
Yeah. So Jacob was about to die to a lethal barrage of burn spells, and then drew his single copy of the white ley line to protect himself. And his opponent had one chance to draw something, didn't, and pulled out the win.
From Canada, Jacob Wilson.
If I win the Pro Tour, that would be a defining moment of my life. Magic is the thing I've put the most effort into, and winning the Pro Tour is the biggest accomplishment you can have in Magic.
Hello and welcome to the last quarterfinal of Pro Tour Fate Reforged. We are going to start off with Jelger Wiegersma against Jacob Wilson, a 19-year-old returning to the top 8 of a modern Pro Tour. Made the finals last year. Let's get right down to the floor and see who is going to win between Jelger Wiegersma and Jacob Wilson.
Jelger's hand has everything.
Jacob is in game 3 and a 2 out of 3 against Jelger Wiegersma, who is a Dutch Hall of Fame Magic player, so not an easy opponent. Game 1, Jelger had an instant win combo that involved making an infinite number of fairies that all attack at once for infinite damage. And then in Game 2, Jacob was able to survive despite the fact that Jelger rained an anger of the gods that destroyed all of Jacob's creatures. But then Jacob summoned an elephant soldier called Loxodon Smiter that finished the job and killed Jelger in Game 2. So now we're on to Game 3. Jacob's got a very good start, but Jelger's deck is capable of winning in an eye blink, so the suspense is pretty good.
Voice of Resurgence, he's running through what could he have. Jacob does not have a lot of outs here. Things are not looking good for him. I'm gonna put this Splinter Twin on this Pestermite. Do you have a response? Shows the path to exile to Jelger, who now will show him the Dispel, and that should be the game. There's the hand. Jelger Wiegersma advances to the semifinals over Jacob Wilson. Another great performance from young Jacob Wilson, but it wasn't quite enough against the Dutch Hall of Famer. I know this has to be so disappointing for him.
It's okay.
You're graded on how many top 8s you've achieved. I think that ultimately Jacob is going to embrace that fact, and as he starts stacking up more and more top 8s, you're going to see him accept the fact that there is something to be gained from making the top 8, even if it isn't winning the tournament. And for such a young person, he's already off to a great start.
There definitely is a balance of skill and luck in Magic. Anybody can win. The better player is often going to win, but that's one of the main appeals, I think.
Having a variety of experiences be possible because of the element of chance is a huge part of just games being fun. You know, Magic is 20 years old. You know, Magic is old enough that there are people who played the game when they were younger who are sharing it with, you know, their younger generation.
Good game. GG. GG. Okay, you want to play another round? Yeah, let's go.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, all right.
Wow, fellas.
Good night, guys.
Take care. We've been playing this for 20 years now. It's such really a part of us that I'm expecting to be at Vintage Worlds 20 years from now. And I'm expecting to be the old man. And when someone looks at me and he's 18, 20 years old, and he says, oh, I got this old guy, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's in for a shock. He's in for a surprise to know that I've been playing this for 40 years. As long as I have the faculties to play it, I will play.
I'm definitely enjoying Magic right now, and I can see playing it for a while. If this year does go poorly and I don't make Platinum, I'd also be happy to go back to school and try to put more of my effort into that.
Season 1, Invitational in Richmond. I'm here with our champion, Jacob Wilson. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much.
The handshake. That's a little bit of hardware. You're no stranger to this.
Yeah, I'll put these with my other ones.
That was Waypoint Presents. Next week, we explore a community that brings fantasy into the real world and improves lives in the process.